Hey folks, I'm going to guess we are all here because we've got this Fishman Loudbox Mini Charge, and whenever we plug it into charge, we've got a blinking light. And so this is a unit that I just picked up used. It didn't have a charging pack here, so I got it at a really good price. And so turned it on, thought I was getting a charge out of it. What I didn't realize was that even though I had some good indicators here, because I was getting a blinking light while charging, it pretty much meant that the battery was toast. So went ahead, gone online, and I purchased a replacement battery. And so if we're looking here, we're looking at a model ML5, 12 volt, 5 amp hour. Basically, I just Googled what the Fishman battery already had in it, and I went ahead, got on Amazon, and I purchased an equivalent battery. So that's what we're going to be installing here today. Tools we're going to need for this project, we're going to go ahead and need a Phillips head screwdriver. So I got a couple options here. And then also we are going to need some Allen keys. I think we'll only need one. As we move along in the project, I'll let you know what size we went and selected. Okay, so set this battery aside. We'll get it unplugged. Go ahead and see what size we need here. I think it's a 4 or a 5, I'm guessing. Probably a 4. Bingo. First try. Look at that. So the first thing we're doing is going to lift off the top here. This would be a good opportunity for like a time lapse, right? Should probably make you suffer through it. And so I switched over to this amp because I had been using, for busking, I had been using that Roland Cube Street. And I think it sounds great for busking. But then I played with two other folks that play out in smaller venues, and they had these Loudbox Minis. I've been looking on Marketplace to see what I could find. Back when I was researching at Cube Street, I knew that I wanted this unit, but this unit brand new is really expensive. And I got that Cube Street for under 200 bucks. So it's kind of hard to not go ahead and get that. So I got that, used it for some busking. I think it sounds great. Like I said, wanted this anyways because of a couple reasons. On the back here, you'll see that it has this DI output. That is awesome if you want to throw an XLR into a Zoom recorder and mix that in, or go ahead and sync that up with any footage you take of when you're playing, and instantly you've got a pretty good high quality recording, good enough to throw on YouTube and get yourself booked. So that was one reason. The second was that because of that DI input, if I ended up deciding to use a bigger PA system, like I had a bigger venue, and I wanted to monitor myself, I could again run that DI out. That'll go either into a board, into the PA, whatever the next sound source will be. But I could use this to monitor myself, and I'll actually have the reverb and any effects that I want to hear. So good to hear it, because sometimes I think I'll end up with too dry of a feed with another monitor I was using, and I didn't like that. So here we are. All right, so I pulled up into the back with that, and as you'll see in any other video, the battery cable already disconnected from the board here. And I'll have to be a little creative in where I'll look to see that where that goes when I go to plug it back in. Oh, I see it right there. So the two prongs right there, there's a two prong thing next to these capacitors. That's where that's going to fit back in. So that'll be my last step before I hook that back in. All right, so got that laying loose. I know one of the other things, I'll do this early on, is the battery itself is secured here by those 4 hex bolts. And it sits in like a cradle when you're using this size battery. There's guys that they buy bigger batteries that last longer. I don't play out for more than 3 hours. And so for me, it's not as important, but I know this is a step in some of the other videos you might see where guys are, they're going ahead and they're loosening this up first. So you don't have to do it once you've got everything else off. These look to be the same as the others will look. Nope, they're longer. So be sure to set those aside in a different spot, because I think when you go ahead and put it back together, that's a pretty easy mistake you could make. So I'll set these 6 from the top away from these other ones that I'm pulling off the bottom. And there's 6 that I pulled off the top. There's 4 that I'm pulling off the bottom. So just the number alone should help you sort those out. But a lot of times I think that the better care you can put into where you're putting everything makes a huge difference. Oh, the choice to go to the hands. And we'll see. I think the other videos, they were just using a Phillips head screwdriver. I'm going to see if I can't get away with that old DeWalt we've got. That was a nice purchase. Kind of do have to pull those by hand, because that last little bit or so is just it coming through this board here when it gets off that mount. And I'm not the most mechanically inclined dude. I can figure a lot of stuff out. But I think, you know, anybody with any skill level, I think, could go ahead and succeed in this. This one's, oh, there we go. That was had all the weight on it. That's why. And I could feel that battery release. Cool. All right, we're going to be careful there. So those Phillips heads are kind of in there, so I might just go ahead and use the screwdriver. See if I can't just lay it forward. You can hear that battery clunking around. So you see there's 1, 2, and 3 in there. And from everything I've shown, or all the videos I've watched, this is the step a lot of guys skip showing, because I think it's kind of a pain in the butt to get the grill back in. So we're going to make the whole video here. We're going to go for it. Pretty boring stuff. But yeah, so I'm a kind of guy that, man, I've been like a basement, back porch, campfire kind of guy for a long time. Where I could play most of a song, but I was staring at a cell phone the whole time. And I would miss stuff. I'd make lots of mistakes. I'd be out of pitch probably. But about a year ago, I decided to be a stay-at-home dad. So I kind of walked away from a pretty awesome career. But I'm embracing this gigging lifestyle. And outside of using my cameras for stuff, I've been picking up the acoustic more. And so I'm hoping that I'm already booked for a show in a month. Paid gig, first one. Set this back up, see if I can get this out a little better. But, oh, there it is. Oh, so that already released. That wasn't even in there that great. And here's the 3 holes from which it came. I don't know, looks nice, but everything always feels cheap once you take it apart. So I don't feel like that screw was doing a whole lot. So it means for me, like, it might not be the first time that this battery's ever been replaced. So we'll see once we pull it out. I don't know if it'll have a Fishman logo on it or not. I know that the ones they were selling on the Fishman website did have Fishman logos. And now we're moving on to the speaker. The next step of this. This is the one I can totally make some noise. I get nervous though, especially when you're putting stuff in. They are a different screw, but I'm going to go ahead and set those off to the right. And remember that I'm kind of alternating here. Takes me back to my youth when I was building plywood boxes and putting Rockford Fosgate subs in the back of some shitty 2-door car. Just so we could all figure out how we can lose our hearing in high school. Admittedly, I never really had one of my cars, but I was always helping my friends. Because I didn't see the point. I was busy buying bass guitars and spending money on other dumb stuff. But But now that I'm a bit older, I can afford nicer stuff. So I buy nicer stuff. And again, that Roland Cube Street, that was a nice unit. The EX, I think, is a much nicer unit. You get more power. And it wasn't really a power thing. It was just, you know, I think the Fishman sounds a little richer. Maybe less tinny. And that's got the other two uses I really liked out of it. And it's surprising for a pretty small setup how good it sounds. Oh boy. There we go. There she blows. So the speaker just slipped away. Let's see if we can color code very well. And I'll leave this plugged in. I don't think I really have to remove it. There it is. All right, cool. So we got our connectors here. FM5. This does look a lot like the battery that it came with on there. Interesting. Piece of rubber, kind of something to make it sit nice in there. This wants to come apart. Oh, battery's just going to come right out the bottom. Cool. So I'm going to be careful to keep the orientation because I don't want to goof that up, man. I'm sure this is one of those things that doesn't make a big deal, but try to see it as it comes out. And I'm going to go ahead and put that in focus just for a second so you can see that we've got the battery as it sits, thing that went on the bottom, housing as it sat back in there. Got these two, got to remember to plug that in and get all our screws right. So now let's go ahead, angle this back up here. And let's go ahead and see what, I'm going to get us a little better light as well. It's not such a moody light. There we go. Hopefully you can see a little bit better what I'm doing here. But if you missed it in the first time, just think reverse order here. Even though I'm going to probably cast a shadow. Okay, cool. So out with the old, in with the new. Take these little covers off there. Oh, this makes me think of the joke about what's the difference between jam and jelly. I can't answer that, but somebody in the comments can probably go ahead and tell somebody what the difference is between jam and jelly. Every time I have to force something into a spot, I always think of that joke. And does that make me a terrible person? Probably. Probably. Boy, that's going to be really fun to match back up. That'll probably be, honestly, that'll probably be the first thing I do then. Just because now that this is kind of unstuck, because it was stuck pretty good to that battery. Just making sure that everything's going to fit right. If I'm trying to put those in later and this thing's jumping around, that's going to be a giant pain in the butt. We don't want that. Let's see if I have enough stretch here. Not quite. We kind of got to finagle it back up in there to get everything to mount back in. But we're good. Everything mounted in really nicely again. I didn't have to mess with those connections. Big thing I have to do is make sure I get my nice little, my rubber here. Man, I'm making too many bad jokes now. Not even funny stuff. You know what I might do? See if I can match that piece up first. I think that's just going to be a big pain in the butt. We'll see how that goes. You know what I might do? This is probably a lot of guys don't show this stuff. I might go ahead and stick these through. This is probably why guys unhook the speakers. Up on a bit of an angle here. I feel like if I can at least get two in there, I kind of set it. Yeah. We'll see if this idea pays off. Again, probably why a lot of dudes are not showing the reinstall. They're like, oh, well, we got it taken apart. Good for you. Figure the rest out, moron. Cool. All right. So what I did is I took 2 of the screws, pushed them through, and I set it on that rubber piece that was on the bottom right here. And now I'm going to see if I can't seat this without knocking them back through. Really, all I'm going to do is get them started. So that metal piece that kind of came over, you got to give it a squeeze so everything lines back up. Now I'm pretty confident that I've got these 2 set, and I'm sweating. I got fans running down here in this basement, but they're noisy. Can't be having all that noise. So now I can see it pulling down nice and tight inside the housing. So I know we're on the right path. The good thing is now once I get these, just snug, I'll be able to leave the other 2 alone, because that angle would be really hard. I'm sure I should test to make sure that battery actually worked, but I just can't wrap my head around the idea of it just not working. Make sure all my connections are still good. Okay, got that seated on there nicely. Gosh, I have no idea if this monitor or this microphone's picking up my 13-month-old upstairs kind of struggling to get to sleep. Our older sister went back to school today, so that was pretty awesome. Remember, I'm a stay-at-home dad, so I've had both kids at home for the last few weeks since the older one's summer camp ended. This one's kind of finicky here. There we go. All right. Off to the side. Power. It's funny, it saves me next to no time, but a whole lot of effort in the long run. Cool. All right. So the next step, oh, and I accidentally unplugged another, so let's be mindful of that as you're putting it back together. Keep an eye on where all those things are kind of ending up. All right, so this girl's got a little insert here. You can see there's a little mark down on the bottom. And it's, I guess it's just shove her in there. Yeah, that's all it is. Shove her in there. Nothing too crazy there. All right, so just kind of taking a step back, seeing that we went ahead, we got the battery mounted in. We mounted 2 of the screws up through the bottom, up through there. We got the speaker mounted back in. Drop the grill in. We're going to put those screws in, and then we're going to double check all of our connections here. Going back into the motherboard, if that's what it's called. I'm not an electrical dude, so if I say stuff that sounds stupid, man, I say lots of stupid stuff. Give me a break. The one thing is, if anybody watches this and you're somebody who's busking, tell us what songs do best for you. I always feel like it's the ones that either everybody wants to hear or nobody wants to hear. But I think with this one I'll get a little more adventurous because I think I'm really going to like the way this sounds. This is painful. Meaning I just suck and I'm doing it on camera. Not much to see on this one, so you're probably just seeing a bunch of my shoulder. Touch tighter on this guy over here. All right, cooking with gas. Check it out. Quick wipe of the eyes, get a little sweat off. Now let's find out where was the home of that guy that jumped off. Oh, I see it right there. Okay, cool. Go ahead and plug this one back in first. Boy, it's funny. Some smart dude would probably be like, well, that's where the flux capacitor hooks in, you see. All right, so we got some views. So before I go too much further, because now we're hot, we're weapons hot here. Let's just be humorful. But that battery must be deader than a doornail. Well, I'm going to go ahead and hook it in. I'll plug it in because maybe it's just dead. Maybe this is the hardest part, not the grate. Yeah, and so I'm starting from the back. As you can see, there's these little angled edges in the plastic. It's going to be really hard to kind of squeeze down in between those. So I kind of just went in behind him. You can see some light nudges, which now I think I'm over. You know, if you're a rubber hammer guy, by all means. But I grew up in the era of when the TV didn't work, you kind of gave it a palm thump. And I'm not that old, early 40s, but we were poor. There are some poor folk in the world. So we had one of those TVs that you just, man, you're turning, you're crunching knobs. You're putting aluminum foil on the rabbit ears to try to get that fourth channel, that elusive fourth channel. Because that's what the Simpsons were on, man. And football. Who would have thought the Simpsons predicted everything? I don't buy into a lot of conspiracies, but it is rather interesting. Not forgetting, we still got those two battery mount on the bottom. This is where I'm like silently freaking out. I'm like, man, did I miss something? I feel like I did. Problem is with those batteries, man. It makes me worried. Like, how long has that been sitting in a warehouse? Is that thing? How long until it takes a good charge? Cross thread this. These are the ones that I'm hoping. I probably should have maybe put them in diagonal. If I was being super lazy, oh, this is lining up okay. These are the ones that I would totally just not put back in because I'm like, in the next 1 to 3 years, I'm gonna have to change this thing out again, anyways. Now the other one, that one found its way. Big brother did it. Little brother has to do it now too. Get in there. Tell you what, that's not seating. Not wanting to grab. Alright, that was it. Now she's got it. Yeah, so I think I probably did it fine. But maybe I'd go diagonal next time. Oh, now I've even seen that this one wasn't even all the way in. That was probably it. I didn't do a great job the first time. So you guys out there in YouTube land, do a better job than I did here. All right, cool. Well, looks like it's back in one piece. We're gonna give it the beans. Some of this stuff out of the way. And that is a handy piece of equipment right there. Oh, dude, I'm getting blinky light again. Cinch these babies down. Now, what you're seeing is me finishing the job kind of a second time. What I didn't realize was the battery was dead because I did end up testing it, but the fuse was blown. So it was a 5 amp 250 volt fuse. I got it at a local hardware store. The last time I went ahead and tried to turn this baby on, we saw the blinky light again, or I plugged it into charge. Now we have a full battery and we have power, and we're not plugged in. So I'll go ahead and plug that in. You can see it's a solid tone as opposed to that blinky light that we had before. So now if you look, and when you take the battery out, you'll see that I had it out there. That positive wire that came, there was a small fuse that you unscrew, open it up, very small fuse. Again, local hardware store, $10. I got 2 of them. So go ahead and have those on hand as well when you do your thing. Because anybody who's changed the battery and found that it was still an issue, if you gave in and shipped it to Fishman, they charged you $50. You paid $50 each way. You're $150 in. They changed a fuse that you can get for less than $5. So be sure to do that, because I was starting to get hopeless. I was starting to worry that the main board was fried, even though that it worked when it was plugged in. I'm just not that smart. So really happy that I went and did that last step, because now I've got a pretty solid working unit. I'm into it for about $300, and so 500 new battery, new fuse, things in great shape. So really looking forward to getting out and busking with it. If you guys have any questions, post them in the comments, but the video should be pretty explanatory. Is just go ahead and swap that battery out. Before you put your battery in, something I didn't do just to get peace of mind was to put it on my battery tender or to check the voltage. So 12.7 volts. I did check that. Once I pulled it back out, saw the battery was good. That led me down the path of the fuse. I didn't have any common way to check the fuse at home without rigging up some AA batteries probably, but I just didn't want to mess with it. But regardless, I went and replaced the fuse. It was a 10-minute trip across town, and now we have this working amplifier that I am super excited about. So wish you guys luck. I know this Fishman unit's great. And again, the reasons I really love it is this DI output here gives me a lot of flexibility for when I'm busking. I can pull a feed over to my Zoom H4n Pro. And then also, if I ever need to go into a PA, I can go into this first if need be, run the DI out into the PA, and then use this as a monitor. And I think that'll be a really easy solution. You can just stand it like that, and all of a sudden you've got a monitor. So pretty excited about it. Really smart unit, Fishman. I don't think a lot of people check the batteries though, and I think that's the next thing. Also, charging your battery in some reasonable interval, probably every 3 to 6 months, just like you would a motorcycle battery in the winter. So maintain it. I wish you guys luck, and go get it.